Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be a pro? Wondered what they do every day, how they practice? Well, luckily for you, in this episode we're going to be breaking down the average day of an esports professional and looking at how you can apply their practices to your own training. In the last episode, we covered how the pros set goals for their practice sessions, which allow them to take advantage of memory processes to learn and improve faster. And in this one, we'll be building on that by looking at how they structure their sessions to actually use these goals for improvement. So in this episode, we'll complete our two-part series on teaching you how to train like a pro. Welcome to Esports Academy, a podcast and video series where I teach you how to become a pro. We'll be using current research from sports and performance psychology to optimize the road to success, allowing you to unlock your true potential and improve the fastest. The average day for a professional esports athlete often looks something like this. First, wake up, eat a healthy breakfast, and then do a brief workout or other physical activity to maintain fitness. Next, prepare for the day, review plans, objectives, expectations, etc. In a team game, this would be done with your team. Then comes the sort of warm-up and experimentation phase, which can last for up to 2 hours. This is where you do any warm-up routines and then play a couple matches where you try out any experimental strategies that you may have thought up earlier. After that, you may move into some brief discussions about how any strategies tried in the warm-up phase went, or anything else you need to prepare, and break for lunch. In the afternoon, it is time for serious practice and competition. This phase probably lasts around 4 hours and consists mostly of scrims against other teams and matches against other pros. After that serious practice is done, you get a short break and then it is on to review. Here you gather with your coaches and teammates and review how the day went and highlight things to pick up on tomorrow. Now, this isn't the exact schedule that you should follow because, well, for one, you probably don't have as much time to dedicate to improving at your game every day, and two, the optimal schedule is person and team specific, so not every pros will look exactly like this. However, no matter what, a good schedule is going to look similar to this one because they all follow a specific sort of pattern. Prepare, practice, review, rest. Essentially, no matter how much time you have to practice, you want it to always follow this simple formula. So let's dive into each of these phases and look at what you should be looking to do in each of them. The first stage of your day is the preparation phase. The preparation phase has two goals. First, help you remember and solidify lessons and goals from previous practice and review sessions, and two, help you focus your upcoming practice. So first, one of the big issues with learning and improvement is lesson retention. Essentially, you can easily go through an entire day of practicing and reviewing and then just forget everything you learned by the next day. It's happened to everybody in school at some point. So an important part of the preparation stage is to go over all of the lessons you learned to help you remember them. Now, simply returning to the lessons that you went over the previous day and refreshing them in your memory is helpful for retaining them, but what can be even more helpful is to try to recall them without looking at your notes. Research has shown that we retain information a lot better when we try to pull it out of our memory ourselves rather than using notes or other similar ways to remember it. Even if you can't remember it, trying to remember it first and then going to your notes only after does better for your ability to learn and remember it than simply going to your notes in the first place. So in the preparation stage, try to recall the lessons and goals that you had for the week or that you highlighted yesterday, as it will help you remember them. The second goal of the preparation stage is to help focus your upcoming practice. So in the last episode, we talked about how we want our practice sessions to be focused on a few goals to help direct our learning. So refresh your memory on what your goals for this practice session are. Some people also find it helpful to have them written down somewhere obvious, like a sticky note pinned on the side of their monitor or written down on their second monitor for the constant reminder. The preparation stage would be the time to set those up. Another way to help you focus for the upcoming session is to have a pre-practice ritual. This is essentially something you always do before a session that can help you focus and prepare your mind and body for what is about to come. Generally, it takes a little while to get into the habit and for it to start being effective, but it has been suggested to have some great benefits. Two examples that have the most empirical support for pre-practice rituals are a really light workout such as a couple rounds of push-ups and sit-ups, and mindfulness exercises like meditation. These activities seem to be particularly effective to helping you center your mind and body and getting you ready to perform. I would highly suggest getting into the habit of a pre-practice ritual if you either don't have a consistent schedule like time of day that you practice, and if you're going to be doing competitions or other high stress and pressure matches. So in the preparation stage, you want to review your lessons learned from previous days, review your goals for the upcoming practice session, and then do any pre-practice rituals that you have to help you retain earlier lessons and get you into the right headspace to have a good practice session. Immediately following the preparation stage, we have the practice stage. This is the stage where you're going to be playing the game and focusing on specific goals that you have outlined for yourself. Following from our example of a pro's average day, if you have any experimentation that you want to do or new things to try, usually it is best to do them as you are warming up. Now, most of the time you're just going to be playing the game, but it can also involve drills or other forms of practice in some situations. For example, if your goal is learning Cypher camera map spots, you might spend the first half of your session in custom lobbies practicing how to place them, and then only the second half using those in a real game. Or even more broadly, not everyone has a lot of time to spend playing, and sometimes your review sessions will bring up very specific lessons or goals that aren't easily practicable, so you can even include something like visualization in this practice stage. Visualization is a great technique to get used to doing, especially if you can't spend a lot of time playing or have specific goals to get practice in some other downtime in your life, like your lunch break. Essentially, all it is picturing in your mind you playing the game and imagining how things would play out if you took different actions or different things happened. For example, let's say you're a busy person trying to get better at Melee and struggling with the Fox-Pikachu matchup. Unfortunately, no one you know plays Pikachu, making you unable to effectively practice it. You could, during your lunch break, visualize playing that matchup and, for example, how you could try to set up combos better so that the next time you do end up playing that matchup, you have a better idea of how to play it and can practice the things you visualized despite never actually having physically practiced it. Essentially, the practice phase is pretty simple. Just play the game, or if you can't play it, visualize it and focus on your goals, however that is best to do. After the practice stage, you can take a short break if needed and then move on to the review stage. Similar to the preparation stage, there are two main functions of the review stage: to review or develop your goals and help you retain lessons and information. So first off, in the review stage, you want to be monitoring your goals, how you are doing on your current ones, are any adjustments needed, are the measures working as you intended, etc. Adjusting a goal or how you measure it after you have already started working on it is no problem. Goals can be mended and improved as you learn more about how to best achieve them. Often, a good way to review your goals is to watch your replays, as it helps you get a better perspective on how well you are actually doing them, and it can also help you identify better ways to help you achieve them faster. For example, you may notice that when you look at your VODs focusing on your aim, that you consistently are aiming too low on the body so that when your opponent jumps or double jumps, you end up missing some shots before you readjust. This can help your aiming practice in the next practice session be more specific by focusing on aiming higher on the body. Once you have reviewed a goal you are working on and reached a level of improvement that you're satisfied with, you're going to want to create a new goal to take its place. The review stage is the main place where you're going to get the ideas for and create your future goals. One of the best ways to do this is to, again, review your gameplay, but this time look for mistakes and errors that you are making, especially ones that you consistently make. It can be helpful here to have an analyst or coach or even another competitive player to help you break down your replays with another point of view. Now, sometimes people struggle to pick up on their mistakes and don't have the resources for another pair of eyes, and so what can be helpful in this situation is to review the VODs of a pro player in a similar situation or game compared to your own. If you can figure out what they are doing differently than you or why they play the way that they do, it can help you identify areas of your own gameplay that need improvement. Really, in a broad sense, the first objective of the review stage is simply working on your goals in a different way from your practice sessions, such as watching replays or other pros play, reviewing frame data, reading guides, etc., to help monitor and review your current goals and create new ones. The second objective of the review stage is similar to the practice stage: lesson retention. There's a lot of information coming to you in the practice and review stage, so you want to make sure you are engaging in some practices to help you remember as much of it as possible. So most basically, during the game, lots happens very quickly. Games are fast paced, so you're guaranteed to miss some important lessons and forget things that you learned in the moment. This is a big part of why the review stage exists, simply to help you slow down the practice session, taking the time to learn and remember each lesson contained in it. Watch your games, pause them at important moments or when you make a mistake, and spend some time thinking about it. Why did it happen? How can you prevent it from happening again? What's a goal you can work on to improve this? Etc., etc. More than this though, it's important to take notes, write down what you are learning, and mentally rehearse the notes and important lessons. Give them your time and attention to help your brain realize that they are important things for it to remember. If learning new things, it can be incredibly helpful for your memory to think of connections to other things you already know. For example, if you're learning a new way to use an ability, think about characters with similar ones and if it applies to those as well, or think about it from the opponent's point of view. Creating these sorts of connections to different things you know not only helps expand your current knowledge, but also is scientifically proven to be amazingly powerful for helping you remember that information. So a lot happens in the review stage. Try to slow down, take good notes, and make connections to help remember it all. But also remember, even if you do amazingly in this stage, the preparation and rest stages are equally as important for learning, so take them seriously and don't slack on them. The last stage is the rest stage. This stage is both the most important and easiest. I could talk for a long time about this stage and its importance, but really all you need to know is this: get a good night's sleep every day. In order to learn and perform well, your brain needs to get a good rest. Have time to shut down and solidify connections you make throughout the day. Despite practicing a lot being important for success, if you cut out too much sleep for it, it will end up having the opposite effect. So, after a good day of work and learning, take it easy and have a good night's rest. Okay, so after following all 4 of those stages daily for your training, there is one last thing that can be really helpful. Once a week, set some time aside to recap. This is a specific time dedicated to addressing issues that are coming up and monitoring your progress. For example, a common issue when you are trying to stay disciplined is having other things that come up that interfere with your practice. Sometimes this is called friction. So for instance, let's say your internet is often being a bit spotty when you go to play ranked, causing you to say, well, I guess I can't do ranked right now, even though it is what you need to do to improve. That's friction, something else that causes you to be undisciplined in your practice that you can blame being beyond your control. Often things like this really hurt our productivity and motivation, so in this weekly time, identify these issues and then work to solve them. Maybe you need to go run some tests on your modem, or call your ISP. These things aren't really goals that you set out for your practice sessions to improve, but if they're barriers to your improvement, they're just as important. So in this weekly time, look for those barriers and work to remove them. You also want to take some time to look at the bigger picture with your current goals, looking at how they've progressed throughout the week. This often helps with motivation, allowing you to see the bigger picture and how you are progressing. This can also be a good time to work with a coach or a mentor, as they can provide direction for your future week and help you break down what happened in the previous one. If you're on a team or improving with a group in some way, you can do this weekly recap together, as it helps keep you all on the same page and serves as a dedicated time to bring up issues outside of the tense practice sessions. Really, it doesn't have to be very large or long, but once a week, set aside some time to recap and look forward. In this episode, we covered a lot about how you can train like a pro by breaking up your practice schedule, so let's recap. There are 4 main stages that you want to go through every day or every practice session to optimize your improvement. First, you have the preparation stage where you review objectives, refresh yourself on your goals for the day, and prepare for your practice. Next, the practice stage comes in where you train, focusing on your goals for optimal improvement. After practicing comes the review stage, where you watch replays or review your gameplay in other ways to learn more about your goals and how to improve them. Here you will review your goals and set new ones. After that comes the all-important rest stage, where you get to sleep and tie everything together. Lastly, once a week dedicating a short time to reflect on the past week, remove barriers, and look forward towards the next week helps ground the whole experience and deal with any extraneous issues. By incorporating all of this into your own practice, you can train like the pros, improve faster, and join them on the big stages in no time. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out episode 3 of the Esports Academy podcast. I hope you enjoyed and found it helpful. In the next episode, we'll be starting our series on mindset, which is just as, if not more important than practice itself, so make sure you don't miss that one. And to make sure you don't miss it or any other future episodes, you can follow or subscribe or do whatever you do on your platform of choice and join our Discord by following the link in the podcast description. I hope to see you in the next episode.